Okay, so now we're ready to move on to a new concept. We've really established firmly how we're going to be playing roots and fifths as a jazz bassist. Now we want to start adding some more interesting notes. The next really interesting note that we're going to find a lot in jazz is what we call the dominant seventh. Now the way you can think of the dominant seventh is it's a whole step below the root. Or if you were to play a major scale, it's the flatted seventh of the major scale. So not the seventh note of the major scale. If we took the seventh note of the major scale and made it a half step lower, that's our dominant seven. Now, whenever you look at jazz music and you look at the charts, you will oftentimes see the chord name, B flat, and then beside it there will be a 7. What's that 7 mean? It means that the dominant seventh is part of the chord. Now, from a bass player's perspective, it's a really interesting note. It'll begin to make some of these sort of vanilla bass lines that we've been playing start to feel a little bit more like jazz. In fact, they'll feel a lot more like jazz. So let's think about our neck geography and where we're playing in terms of a key, and you'll see how this dominant seventh is really easy to find. Now, so far we've established that we know where our root is because that's where our index finger is going to be. We know where the fifth note of the scale is going to be. That's our pinky, 1 string up and 2 frets up. So from root, we go to the fifth. Now, we also talked about the octave being there, 1 string up from the fifth. Now, the dominant seventh is a whole step below the octave. So it's on the same fret as the root, just 2 strings higher. So root, fifth, octave root, and here's the dominant seventh. Now, when we're playing our bass lines, instead of playing root, fifth, octave, anytime that 7 is beside the chord change that you're looking at, you can play root, fifth, octave, and the seventh. And you can play it in a couple different orders. You might want to go root, root, fifth, octave, seventh, root, fifth, octave, seventh. Or you can go the opposite way. And the beautiful thing about it is your hand is framed right up in the same exact place with established root, our index fingers on root, and we go from there. And then when we change chords, we know where we're going. Key of, chord is B flat. Now if the chord is E flat, and if the chord is F, we shift our hand up, and then we can go back to B flat. All the while, you know exactly what step of the scale you're playing on. Root, fifth, octave, or dominant seventh. Remember, you want the root to land on the first pulse of every measure. That's really important. And as you begin getting comfortable with it, you can play around with the order that you play these notes, and you can start making some really cool walking bass lines. Let me put on the drums and I'll show you, all framed up here, what this is going to look like and what it's going to sound like. go ahead and give that a try, put on a practice drum beat, and start fooling around with getting that dominant seventh into your walking bass lines. Remember, root, fifth, octave, and seventh are the notes that really matter here in these walking bass lines. See what you come